Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be the last garden tour of the summer. I'm going to do this tour, show you a little bit of, I'm going to shell some of the kidney beans today. I'm going to process the corn. I'll show you how I do that. We might do some other like preserving food stuff in this video as well. But for the main part, this is going to be the last garden tour of the summer, and then the next garden video you see, which will be in a few weeks, will be prepping the garden for fall and actually planting the fall garden. Okay, so starting over here, we have marigolds. This zucchini plant, or technically it's like 3 plants, is thriving still, and typically by now our zucchini is long gone, but this one is still thriving. As you can tell, we have 2 we could probably pick later today. We also have more back there, and they're doing okay, but they're not thriving like they were. We have a ton of sunflowers. You'll see more sunflowers. These are our cucumbers. Technically, we could honestly probably pull these up, but we do have this one which we could pick today. Then we have, some of the vines look really good still, others are just not. So cucumbers did not do well this year, because typically we don't have zucchini at this point and we still have cucumbers. Then we have our Roma tomatoes, our Rutgers tomatoes, Lemon Boys, Carolina Golds. I'm not sure exactly where everything is, but our yellow tomatoes this year are doing wonderful. Then these are our Goldie tomatoes. These are the ones I planted. Let me take you back. This is our corn. We have 1, 2, 3 rows of that. More tomatoes. We have a cat. More sunflowers. And this one, I noticed yesterday, is black. We have a black sunflower. That is so cool to me. But yeah. And then we have banana leg tomatoes. We've been trying to pick as they start to turn because the worms and the bugs have gotten really bad. But then over here I have my Lincoln tomatoes. We've gotten some really huge ones, but I don't think we're going to get any more of those. And a lot of our tomatoes that have turned have been put in the freezer so we can start prepping to make spaghetti sauce. And that'll be its own separate video. And more views of the sunflowers. Okay, then our eggplants. They all have eggplants on them, but this one back here is doing the best. And I think we picked the one we had off there last night, or the other day or something, because my grandpa wanted one. And then there's that one. At least that way you have a proof of an eggplant. Then this first row of my kidney beans is what I've been picking off of. I picked a few off this second row, but not as many. I have a gallon bag, like a brown paper bag. It's probably about the size of a gallon bag, filled. And I'm going to break those today, and then I'm going to have more probably to pick tonight or tomorrow. Then these are pinto beans. These come on extremely late. Last year I picked some and they weren't ready, but it had frosted on them and they needed to be picked. So I don't know if pinto beans are going to work out this year, because they didn't work out last year, but kidney beans are working out great. I would also like to try to can some of my kidney beans this year, but we will see. Okay, so turn around. Got this tomato plant in this bucket. this zucchini in this bucket. These buckets were tomatoes and they ended up dying, so we just put zucchini in them. And this is cucumbers. So we might have some cucumbers off of this. And then we have more Roma tomatoes in this bucket. Marigolds. I'm going to show you everything. Then we have peppers. None of them are quite big enough to pick yet because I have been picking quite a bit because we've been eating them, we've been freezing them. That one needs to be picked. Because see, sometimes they just get that like sunspot on them. So yeah. Then this will be part of our fall garden, but I did start the seeds already. We have beets, little green things, and that carrot, and that's a carrot. And I'm hoping more carrots start to come up. Then these are strawberries and a random onion. We have this raised garden bed out front. Lettuce needs to be pulled and shaken out for the seeds because it's seeded out. Those are beets that probably need to be picked, but I'm not going to pick those till my grandpa comes to get them because those are for him. And we have carrots that need to be picked as well. But I don't want to pull those until I'm ready to cook with them. We have random cucumber plants. One on there. So hopefully we will have a few more cucumbers. That rose is doing amazing. I don't understand. Strawberries. We will be fixing this box up in probably our fall garden video. Our cosmos. We do have purple ones now. And we have to put a net around them so the cats and the neighbors' dogs don't climb in them. But these are our zinnias. Walk around the zinnia circle. And then we have 3 firework peppers. We learned this year, no, don't plant peppers out in front. It just doesn't work. They don't grow. Our random jalapeno plant that never did anything with all the trees. There's a name for them. I don't know the name of them, so we call them trees. And another, this one I wish would produce because it's got tons of blooms. It's just not producing. And then that random jalapeno. We had another one on here and I picked it. So, yeah. And then more flowers. So I'm going to start picking some of the corn and then we'll move in the house and we'll get some stuff processed or whatever. But figured I'd pick a few holding the camera and then I'd move you around a little bit so I can actually pick a little bit better. Oh, I gotta go let Nugget out. And I am gonna leave a few ears out here in case we want some with dinner one night. Okay, so I got 22 ears of corn. I left about 10 ears actually in the corn because some of it wasn't quite ready yet, and that way we have some to eat if we want it. I tried to get the buggy ones out and some of the bigger ones, but now I'm going to shuck this, then I'll go in the house and start processing. So all shucked, I actually have 20 ears, probably more equivalent to like 18 or 19 because some were tiny like that, but I had 2 that I ended up having to throw under my steps, and this is where we keep our, it's horrible, this is our compost pile. But yeah, I'm going to take these in the house, get them cleaned up a little bit better, and start cooking. So I took it in the house, cleaned it up a little bit, got like the nasty kernels out of it, got the extra silks, got the extra pieces of the ends off of it, and see, that's like what it looks like up close after all the nasty kernels have been removed. And I was boiling 2 pots of water. I knew it was going to take at least 2 pans to do this. So I just went ahead and boiled 2 pots of water. Then when they were boiling, I dropped in the corn. And I just cook this the same way you would cook it when you're boiling corn. It's not rocket science, but it probably takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Sometimes, I think it took a little bit longer with this because there was so much. And I was trying not to overfill the pots as well. But I did want to get it all cooked at the same time, so I didn't have to do this in stages. Okay, so after the corn was done cooking, I just removed it from the boiling water, put it in this glass dish that I had to let it cool off a little bit while I dumped out the boiling water and filled the pots that I boiled the corn in with cold water and put some ice in them, and you will see that in the next clip, I think. I filled the pots with cold water, put some ice in them, put the corn back in the pots. That way it cooled off a little bit quicker and I could get started immediately with cutting it off the cob. So there is the option to freeze corn on the cob. If you do that, I would not cook it. We have done that and we just don't eat it. So we've just found that it's a waste And if we do eat it, we ended up getting it out of the freezer and cutting it off the cob anyway. So we've just got to this point where we just cook the corn like we're gonna eat it on the cob, then cut it, then we chill it real quick in like an ice bath like you saw, and then we just cut it off the cob. And I try to get every last kernel and all the juice out of the corn cob, that way I'm not wasting anything. And after all of this is cut off the cob, and I will tell you, it does make quite a mess. I took freezer bags, I took quart-sized freezer bags, and I was using a cup originally and trying to scoop the corn into the bag, and it just was not working, so I just switched over to using my hand for like the bigger pieces, and then as I got down to the bottom, I was using a cup more. But I ended up having 5 quart-sized freezer bags that I ended up filling up, and I did have to go through and take some corn out of certain bags. You will see that at the end of this clip, just because they weren't all even. I wanted to try and make sure that they're all the same size. That way, because usually if we freeze corn, we're doing it to eat. We're not doing it to put in like soups or something. Of course, you have that option if you would like, but usually when we freeze corn, we are using it to fry corn with later on in the year. Okay, so here are the 5 bags of corn that will be going in the freezer. And of course, if we end up not eating the corn that I left out in the garden, I will pick that and I will repeat this process with those ears as well. Okay, so after I got done freezing the corn, I decided I wanted to break some of my kidney beans. I had picked this brown paper bag over to my side, and been putting the beans in it as I picked them and letting them dry out a little bit in the pantry. And yes, sometimes they do fall on the floor. And you will see me take some out, and I won't break them. I'll set them aside, and that's the stuff. They were kind of wet still, so I just set those aside, and then I went outside and set those out on our table, and they dried out, and I was able to break them later that day. And I did have beans randomly hitting the floor, and I was trying to pick those up as they did it. That way I didn't forget that they were there, or that I didn't lose them. But I just break them into a mason jar, and then all I have to do is put the lid on them, and they are done. That's all you have to do for beans, and at least kidney beans. And I love that. Okay, so I have probably about a cup and a half of beans so far. I need to get that piece of, there we go, that piece of dirt out of there. And this one is still a little wet, so I'm going to set it outside to dry a little bit, and then I'll break them later. I have more beans to pick and break, so this might end up being a full jar by the end of the season or whatever. So last thing I want to show you, or last thing I want to do in this garden video, is shred some zucchini and freeze it. We have been cutting up zucchini and freezing it. I think we have 2 bags in the freezer up here, and we have a ton of zucchini. Like, this is just one of the bigger ones, so I'm going to shred some, because I like to have some shredded when I do muffins or bread or something, like throughout the winter and into the spring before we start getting zucchini again. So I'm going to show you how I do that. There's not really anything to it, but I'm going to show it because some people don't know that you can actually do this. So when I'm just shredding it, I just cut off top, bottom. This one is a bigger one, so I'm going to cut it in half, and then cut it in half again. And if I see that the seeds are like too big, I might, I don't think I'm going to have to do that with this one, but if the seeds are too big, I would scoop the seeds out. And of course, you can always just take the seeds out as you're shredding it up if they have a problem. But I just use my cheese grater, and I use this side. You could use this one, but I like this one because it makes a smaller amount, and that, well, it makes a larger amount. Well, hell, it makes the same amount. What am I trying to say? But it makes it finer, so when you're eating it, you're not getting big chunks of zucchini. And if you're trying to hide it for kids, that's great. Okay, so I have 3 quart bags of zucchini. I have 2 bags with 2 cups, and I have a bag with 1 cup. There will be more, there honestly is more zucchini I could shred, but I don't want to waste all the bags, and we're almost out. So I'm going to save some of them, and I will freeze more zucchini as we go. And also we'll eat it fresh while we're still getting it, and then when we get overwhelmed, that's when we freeze it. But I did want to show you how to freeze it. I will label these with the year and how many cups are in each bag, and that way I can just grab whatever size bag I need when I go to bake with it. So that is going to be it for this garden tour and like preserving food. I wanted to share a little bit of how we do preserve our food that we get from the garden, because I think it is very important to realize that you can feed yourself with the food that you get from your garden even after the garden is over. Like, it is September. We are coming up on the end of it, and I know that, and it sucks. But at the same time, I still have stuff in my freezer and my fridge and even my pantry that is from my garden. So I will still be eating the stuff that I grew, even though I'm not currently growing it. So that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you've not done so already, hit the red subscribe button down below. Be on the lookout for like a fall garden video. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.